Hi there. Welcome to the next in our agent series around agent solutions. Today we have Oviya who's going to be talking to us about something that you can be doing in your organization around policies and procedures with HR, which I'm excited to see. So I'm going to step back because I'm just the kind of the passenger for this. So Oviya, you want to take it away?
Perfect. Thank you for the intro, Mike. So let's kick it off. I know right now when a lot of people hear agents, they're most likely thinking Copilot Studio. And for those of you who don't know, Copilot Studios are awesome platform that makes this agent building experience very easy to do. There's a lot of easy to use features. There's ways to draft some really powerful responses. And it's all using a lot of natural language, low code logic. So if you're not a coding expert, this is the place for you. You can quickly develop and deploy solutions without much of a hassle. So there's quite a few things on this slide. I won't touch on everything, but there's a lot of cool features with generative answers and actions, the ability to connect to over 1,000 plus connectors. You can use Power Automate. There's a lot you can do, and we really encourage you all to take a look. So with
I I,
that,
I gotta say that because I know you went quick through it, but the fact that we have over 1,000 connectors when we start talking, I mean, that's huge. That is huge.
absolutely.
I mean, somebody like me, my degree is elementary education. I mean, if you want to do sock puppets, great, but coding, I don't think so. And this is a great way to be able to help people to hook that up.
Absolutely. All right. And then kind of going off of that, yeah, if you're like Mike, you're not super technical, what we do want to point you guys to is that we have templates available. So a lot of people have come to us. They don't really know where to start. They're just looking for some direction. And I want to highlight here on our homepage that we do have a ton of templates available. We encourage you all to play around, take a look, see what you can leverage. Maybe you can take something from one template into a second template. And really, the world's your oyster here, but it's a great starting point.
And just one quick, I'm sorry, I interjected again. That's in studio there, but we also, just so folks know, in Agent Builder
Mhm.
within chat, there's also a whole, I just built two out the other day and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Just very easy.
Absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. And then a lot of people come to us, hey, Microsoft, what's the secret sauce to building an agent? What makes an agent successful? So, here today, I kind of want to highlight 5 or 6 things. The first one being that when you're making an agent, you need to really have that end user in mind. Got to keep them top of mind and picture your interactions as the end user because that's what's really driving this experience. Second, you need to really understand their request and make sure we're connecting them to the right topic. So this is all for efficient problem solving, and we can tailor the interactions accordingly depending on what that end user is looking for. And then the next two kind of go hand in hand. But obviously, we're going to want accurate, effective, up-to-date content so that the agent is useful, that it's providing the relevant information, and it really is acting as a source of, productivity. It's a tool that people can use to help, and that only happens when we have, most accurate, latest, up-to-date information. And then
And
lastly,
Novia.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Sorry.
lastly, we call agents sometimes co-pilots, but the theme is the same. It's that these agents are great to a certain point, but there's always a time in which you need to hand off to a human. So knowing
Yeah.
where and when that is super essential. And it's always a human and technology working hand in hand, never just one or the other.
And you need to know when to call the secret agent.
Yes, absolutely. So
Couldn't resist.
with that, time to bring in our secret agent problem statement for today. So many organizations, they have a ton of information, whether it's HR, whether it's IT. There's so many topics out there that companies need to train their organizations on. And there's always so many people looking to get answers. In most organizations, that looks like submitting a chat request or an email or putting in an internal ticket, and then it's sent to somebody else to respond to. And in cases like this, the person who's inquiring, it saps away their productivity. The person who has to respond, it saps away their productivity. Um, that's kind of where this agent idea comes to place as a great supporting resource who can answer these questions. They don't take as much time to, research, respond, and do all of that. And we're really providing a great experience. So In our situation for today, we'll be following Dr. Sally. She's a physician who recently joined Contoso Healthcare. And they're looking for information on HR policy, their health plan information. But lucky for her, during her onboarding training, the HR trainers informed her that there's a Contoso Ask HR agent available for all employees. So why don't we go in and demo it and see what this looks like in practice, while Dr. Sally is navigating through some of her questions. So with that, let me pull up our agent. All right. So think of this agent as your one-stop shop for everything self-service HR related or related to some of the health plans. And this is where Dr. Sally can now start answering her questions. So she was hired, it's April, mid-April. So she's in that mid-year cycle. Let's say she's wondering how performance reviews are conducted. Because she didn't really get that information during her hiring cycle. She knows it's coming sometime soon. So she'll ask this agent, how are HR or how are performance reviews conducted at Contoso Healthcare? So we'll give it some time, but just remember, it's not like you're asking your manager, you're sapping away their productivity or interrupting their day. We're asking this agent, they're trained on our healthcare our HR information, and it's specific to this healthcare organization. So with that, we find out that reviews are conducted annually. We know that the employee supervisor discusses their performance over the past year. They have some conversations about feedback, areas of improvement, and they also talk about their goals and objectives. So it's nice. Dr. Sally knows that this is a two-way discussion. It's not just somebody handing her something or a report card. And she'll receive a written summary of the performance review, which is discussed during the next review session. So that's great. She came up with a great, little response that she now has a better understanding of. So we'll go to our next question. Dr. Sally wants to know a little bit more about the health insurance. She finds it really overwhelming. It's hard to know what to sign up for, what comes with what. Let's go through our next prompt. Please describe the in-network versus out-of-network features in the standard plan. So we know she was told that there was a standard plan. There was also a plus health plan. Let's start with standard and kind of understand what is involved in here. All right, so the in-network provider has a contract with this hospital, Northwind Health, and is eligible to receive payments. It includes primary care, but on the other hand, out-of-network is a healthcare provider that's not in the Northwind Health network and is not eligible to receive payments. So they're not covered by the standard health plan. Okay, good to know. Let's ask if there are any differences in-network and out-of-network care, not just in standard, but also the plus health plan. Let's see. And Contoso's Healthcare, like I mentioned, this bot is trained up on all of its latest health insurance policy and HR information. So yes, it gives us some information. That we know that in-network healthcare has lower costs for members, includes a wide range of services. Out-of-care network may lead to balance billing, higher costs to the member, and coverage limitations, especially for mental health services. Okay, that's good to know. She didn't previously know that. It wasn't explicitly called out to her during her training, so this is really useful information. She can see where it's pulled up from and also access that documentation so she can get a deeper dive. So that's really useful.
Yeah, that is.
All right. Now let's ask, what is the out-of-pocket max for the standard health plan? She's thinking about some of those premium payments, and she just wants to learn a little bit more.
And I love it's keeping, as you're going, the whole history too of this conversation,
which is very useful. Okay, good. So the out-of-pocket maximum is $6,000 per person. Good to know. So that's for the standard. Now, let's just ask about the plus plan, right? If there's not too much of a difference, maybe it's worth investing, maybe it's not. Let's see. You want to make this decision easy. And, in a typical situation, you're probably combing through standard health plan documentation. Then you have to go to a new documentation and find the plus health. But look at this, all in one-stop shop. Great. So the out-of-pocket maximum is $4,000 per year. And it includes deductibles, co-pays, all sorts of stuff. And it resets at the beginning of each year. So she knows that she has to start from scratch when a new plan year starts. That's good. She can set up a reminder in her calendar. These little things is what kind of helps make this a really good user experience.
So as you're going and doing that, like you just said, rather than having to go to different documentation, because that documentation is typically available within any organization, but you got to comb through it. I remember in years past with our own HR, before we had Copilot, you had to go and you'd pull these PDFs and you're scroll, trying doing word searches within the doc. Yeah.
And getting the doc is one thing, but like finding it too is another problem. And
within
so,
it.
So having an agent like this is very helpful in the case that you don't have to go searching yourself. So,
and then this is just looking at that specific information for this particular agent.
Right. How many times are you looking through the documentation? It's telling you about XYZ thing that you don't even know about, you don't even care about. And, you know, this is pointing you right to the right place. It's accurate.
Awesome.
So this is good information, but you know, it'd be really helpful if we could have it kind of in a table format. So why don't we ask Copilot or this agent here to do that for us, and help structure it. Sometimes it's a little finicky, so it'll respond and just give us a an answer, and then maybe sometimes we have to follow up and then ask it to put it into a table format. But looks like it did it perfectly for us this time, so this is great. And this is very helpful to know. So, okay, looking at the plan, looking at the individual out-of-pocket maximums, and then looking at the family out-of-pocket maximum, this is very helpful. I can see that it referred me to 2 sources, so this is really good here. I can see and do some more research if I want to and kind of understand what the budget would look like. But, you know, from a high level today, this agent has really been a huge help for a person who's new to the company, who's onboarding. You know, they don't have to awkwardly ask their manager. They don't have to awkwardly ask somebody on their team. They're able to answer a lot of these questions on their own. It shows how easy the onboarding journey really can be when we're using AI, when we're reasoning our agents over our company policies or healthcare coverage or HR documentation. You see a huge impact in employees' productivity and the day-to-day experience. And better yet, it's easy to configure, it's easy to use, and it's super scalable. So today we showed you HR, but imagine if we can extend this a little bit to IT-related questions, to maybe how do I submit an expense report? How do I do some travel and book a travel trip upcoming? So this, you know, we're just tapping the surface today, and there's so much more that we'll see in the upcoming Agents series too. But it's really important to just see the potential of what we can do.
It's awesome. Now, with this agent, to set something like this up, what are we talking?
We're talking Copilot Studio. We're probably going to ground it on a few. So we have the ability to ground it on a SharePoint site. For example, if you have all your documentation sitting on a SharePoint site, that's great. If you organize it by folder, that's a great place to point into. We like this way because, you know, as you update documents, you replace documents when it's in the SharePoint site and it's just tied to that URL, it's keeping up with all of that. You also have the opportunity to manually upload some of these documents and these procedures and these policies. However, if things change a little bit, you know, you run a little bit of a risk there, but sometimes these policies are set for a year and that's great. And then, you know, at the top of the year, January 1st, you can replace the documents. But you do have a lot of creative freedom in the way you choose to point the source documents to this agent. So yeah, there's quite a few ways to do this. And this experience is published to our Teams environment, but you can publish, you know, as a web application. You have a lot of freedom. You can publish directly onto the intranet site of your company and add it that way. There's a lot of different flexibilities in terms of publishing.
And I like what you said too, if you put it, because while you can upload the documents, you're still having to upload it somewhere.
Right.
So why not put it into a SharePoint site with read access, secured, but that way there's no reconfiguring as the documentation changes.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a no-brainer.
That's just, awesome. Well, this is great. I love it. So how long, so honestly, let's say my documentation's in SharePoint. and I decided to go into Copilot Studio and build this. We're talking what, a month, two?
You can do it from hours to, yeah, nothing crazy at all. You can do it in hours to even weeks if you want to really refine it. You want to give it a clear conversation path. You're very particular in the answer it puts out. Hours to weeks. You're not thinking months. So it's crazy what you can do in just a short amount of time with this new technology.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is awesome. Thank you. So people should get started, and can we provide the deck?
Yeah, we absolutely can.
Cool. And we'll go ahead and we'll do that as a PDF, and then we'll have some resource links where people can go and take a look, and they should absolutely get started. If your org is not started diving into Copilot Studio and looking at, the other day, a customer asked me to build a help desk one on the fly. And I was like, oh. And so I pulled in SharePoint content, ServiceNow content.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. It took me a couple of minutes. Now, could I have done, like you said, I could have refined like the whole conversational response and all that, and done a lot more work there. But I had a working thing within minutes, and they were like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And everybody, tune in for our next time as we look at more agent solutions.